Good morning or good afternoon. I hope your long weekend was fruitful and productive and fun and interesting, and I hope we're all enjoying spiraling into the depths of hell. We're now going to start Unit 8, which is persuasive texts. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do this or maybe skip it. It is the last unit in the book, so we don't really have much choice. We're going to have to do it. Persuasive text is pretty straightforward to do. We'll look at some persuasion techniques. If it was the Unit 10 version where we have to actually set up a debate, that would have been much more difficult. But going through it, it's really not that much different from any other unit, so we'll be all right. We'll be able to go through this. So we're going to look at Unit 8, which is 243, page 243. Those of you that have the book. Those of you that don't worry, I'm going to read the section out and give you a chat about it, and then we're going to do a quick exercise. Tomorrow we'll do a comprehension exercise from the book as well, which kind of fits in with what we've been talking about, and maybe we can create something worth going on from. We'll see, because when it comes to the comprehension exercises, as usual, they're not great, so if any of you do want to have a discussion about a particular subject, feel free to let me know, and we'll maybe look at including that in as a theme throughout the unit like we did last month. So let's have a look at this page 243, persuasive texts. By the end of this unit, you will be able to, now, normal way they begin, listen for supporting evidence. Now, supporting evidence is key. When we're looking at this, we're looking at the idea of a persuasive text is to try and convince you that we're correct. We can't do that without supporting evidence. Now, this is something that we see a lot on the internet. The current liberal agenda is, as we've discussed, about removing morals. Now, once your moral core is removed, you are basically a walking vegetable. You no longer have any interest in facts or the truth. I actually literally had an argument about this on Twitter this morning. Now, I know it's Twitter, I know it's dumb, so I didn't let the argument get out of hand. It was one of my followers who, he's called the American, and he said, and he's quite right, he said, the people who hid Anne Frank were breaking the law, the people that killed her were following it. And that's a common quote going around the internet. He thought he was, clever by posting it. And he's quite right. The people that hid Anne Frank, even though they did a moral thing, they tried to save her family, it was against the law. So they broke the law to do the right thing. And that's what happens when we lose our moral core. We simply follow the rules, and we lose track of what's right and wrong. That's what the liberal agenda is all about. Follow us, obey us, don't think about what's right and wrong, because we certainly won't be doing what's right. And the people that killed her, they were following the law. So they did an immoral thing because they were told to do it. And I corrected him by saying, they didn't kill her, she died. He said, oh, you're arguing semantics. I said, well, I'm not, because this is a very interesting key part of the story. A lot of people say they killed her. She was never killed, which is, to me, this is a very big deal, because the idea is that she was arrested, taken to a prison camp, a German prison camp, and executed for being a Jew, which simply isn't true. She was put in an internment camp, and she died of typhus. She died of one of the diseases. They reckon something like 90% of the people that died in those prison camps died of diseases. And historically, more people died in American camps than in German camps. Now, this is an important difference. And all I did is correct him. She didn't die. She wasn't killed. She died. And he attacked me for it and said, oh, you're not a patriot. I said, no, I'm not an American. And he tried to accuse me of all sorts of terrible things. And I said, look, if you're using a lie to base your argument on, then your argument is not worth listening to. Essentially, if you're not able to support what you say with facts, and if you're using lies to promote emotions, then basically your argument is wrong and you are not credible. I was actually trying to help the guy. I was trying to say to him, look, you need to be honest so that people can actually reference what you're saying, and you're a credible source. You're not a credible source if you're using half-truths and lies. No one's going to take you seriously. He didn't agree because he's too far down the rabbit hole. So supporting evidence is very important. If you can't back up what you're saying with supporting evidence, then really you're not you're not a credible source. And that's true if you're trying to argue somebody around to your way of thinking, or if you're trying to sell a product. You have to use supporting evidence, otherwise what you're selling is just garbage. Look around you at the moment, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Read and understand an exposition, advertisement, a discussion, and a product review. Yeah, we'll have a look at those things as well. We'll look at adverts, and we'll discuss product reviews, and we'll see what's true and what isn't. A lot of times, product reviews especially are very dishonest. If you go to the Internet Movie Database, IMDb, you'll see absolute garbage movies getting something like 2 out of 10, and the reviewers that work for the site will be given the same movie 10 out of 10. And that's because these reviews are paid for. These people are bought and sold. They're called the access media, which means they're given special access, special privileges, so long as they toe the line and say what they're supposed to say. This means they've lost all credibility because they are literally bought and sold. They're told what to do, they do it, and they try and sell the product. And this isn't new. I remember years ago, when I was probably your age, I used to read a lot of bike magazines, motorcycle magazines, and they all basically disappeared because news got out that the big motorcycle manufacturers, Honda, Triumph, whatever, were paying for reviews, which meant that all the reviews were worthless, and it killed the magazine industry. I don't think it ever really recovered. Now, the only one we can trust is the MCN, the Motorcycle News, which was basically a weekly newspaper about motorcycles. And that only limped on, only just. So being caught out with your dishonesty means that everything you've ever done is incredible. It's not credible anymore. So we'll be looking at that and how to spot the real from the fake. And it's a lot harder than you think. And it's a lot more difficult to find real. It really is. Really is. Use grammatical features associated with persuasive text. We'll do some exercises so you can write these out yourself, understand how to use them. Use emotive language to appeal to the audience. Now, I'm very against this. I'm against creating an emotional core. I much prefer to use facts and to drive an argument with logic, but that isn't how it works. If you want to convince somebody that you're right, you need to get them to agree with you, like you. There's an old saying, if someone likes you, they'll give you money. That's how business works. You can see it all around you. People connect on a human level, and we do that emotionally. So getting people to connect with you first is key. There was an old trick about matching your breathing. So if you've got a customer, watch them breathe and match their breathing. Literally breathe in and out with them. If they do something, you do something. And if you do it long enough, if you do it for a few minutes, if they move their arm, you move their arm. If they sit like this, you sit like this. Copy them. And then you can start leading. Once they, unconsciously, they'll realize that you two are in step, and they'll start to like you. Your breathing matches, and they'll think, we've got a connection, unconsciously, and they will accept the connection. Then you can start to lead. Then you can start saying, right, my product is fantastic. And if you lean back, they'll lean back. And once you've done that, you're in control of the conversation, and they're basically buying whatever you're selling. I'll show you how all that stuff works. So emotive language works the same way. It connects us emotionally, which makes people feel like we've got a bridge connecting us, which makes it easier for them to follow along. This is how a lot of politics works. Create that emotional core, make people agree with you, then they'll agree more. The idea with this is to trick people into saying yes. The way it works, my name's Jack. Yes, can't disagree with that. I'm a teacher. Yes, can't disagree with that. You like homework. You're much more likely to say yes if I've created a pattern of agreement. If I've given you a load of things to agree with and you've got nothing to disagree with, then the next thing I say, you're much more likely to keep on agreeing with me. Emotive language does that. It gives you a way to invite somebody into agreement, okay? Debate issues. So we're going to look at some issues, contentious ones, I hope, so that we can look at both sides. Looking at both sides is key. Being able to see both sides of an argument and then make an informed choice about which is the correct one, or at least the least incorrect. Formulate questions to gather points of view. Now, what kind of questions are you going to have to ask to get to the truth? And again, that's very, very difficult. I was actually just telling the wife I was given a YouTube video suggestion on one of my channels to a video, and it was a dumb video, and it kept turning up in my news feed, and eventually I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch it. Why are McDonald's ice cream machines always broken? And that was the subject, and I don't care about McDonald's ice creams. There's no McDonald's here in Cambodia, so I'm never going to get one. I don't like ice cream. I don't go to McDonald's, even if I'm in a country where they sell it. But it is a cliche that McDonald's ice cream machines never work. An Indian guy came up with an app, and he was tracking the ice cream machines around America, and about 15% of them were broken at any one time, anywhere in America. And that's against an industry standard of 99.996% of machines working. We expect 99.996 of industrial machines to be working, so 15% is ridiculous. And he actually did a very, very good journalistic piece into why McDonald's ice cream machines are always broken. And it was a very, very good piece of research. It took him a month of going through instruction manuals, of contacting agents, of discussing this. And he did a really fantastic job of investigating why McDonald's ice cream machines are always broken. And it comes down to the fact that when you set up a McDonald's franchise, you have no choice but to buy a Taylor machine. And these machines are horrible. They're out of date. They don't give you any information about why the machine doesn't work. It just refuses to function. It has to do a hot clean every night to kill all the bacteria. And if it fails for any reason, it just refuses to work. And you're not told why it's refusing to work. And of course, this costs the franchise holder hundreds and hundreds of dollars, plus all the inconvenience of all the customers growling at you. So they call an engineer, and the engineer costs, I think it was $350 for 15 minutes of work. So of course, the company makes a fortune out of these machines breaking down. And it turns out that's all there is to it. It's just a scam where McDonald's has entered into an agreement. So basically, corrupt people have made a deal to steal money off of franchise owners. And that's all it comes down to. They're keeping people out of work. One company came up with an app, a simple app. You put a small device on the front of your ice cream machine, and it sends details to your phone of what's really going on in the machine. So you get much better information. And it saves people thousands and thousands of dollars. And McDonald's have come back and said, oh, if you use this device, it's going to cost you your warranty and we won't work with you anymore. And it's a scam. And then another company have come out with another app which works almost as well as the first app. And of course, it turns out it's made by the company that make the ice cream machines. So it's all a huge scam. And that was a very, very good piece of investigative journalism where he asked the right questions, got the right points of view, and he showed all sides of the argument. And you don't see this anymore. And what a shame that a good journalist like that is talking about ice cream machines and isn't investigating current affairs and government policies and all that sort of thing, which we really want. The BBC in England is now completely, hopelessly corrupt, refuses to ask any real questions, doesn't serve the public interest, and people are really angry, really angry. Last week there was a 1 million man march through London in protest of all the current situation. The BBC refused to cover it. There's another march going on next week, there's another one 2 weeks later, and millions of people are marching through London demanding real government change. Like they want the government out. The BBC are trying to cover that up, and in the meantime they're telling stories that simply aren't true. This is a very dangerous precedent. So you're going to be able to ask and answer those kind of questions and find out for yourself. Write a review and a discussion. We may get to something like that. I really, the thing is, we don't know what's coming. We're very close to the end of the semester now. Don't know where we're going to stand on exams. We hear one thing, then we hear another. So trying to keep an open mind about all that. Let's see what happens. So that's the introduction to persuasive text. Let's turn over to page 244. Have a look at the overview. Skip the group exercise because we can't do that because we don't have a group. So let's have a look at overview, page 244. In persuasive writing, the writer tries to persuade the reader or listener to accept his or her opinion as an act, or to act in a certain way. So we're trying to sell our opinion. Our opinion is usually that we're correct or that we've interpreted something in the right way. But I like the wording here, accept his or her opinion, because everything's an opinion. Don't ever go believing that anything is a fact. I can tell you that this is a pencil. That is not a fact. It's not a fact. This looks like a pencil. It is a pencil. It writes like a pencil. It draws like a pencil. But if somebody was using this as a tent peg, then it becomes a tent peg. It's not an absolute fact that anything is what you say it is. It's only an opinion. Things are mutable. To somebody that doesn't know how to draw, this is just a piece of wood. Okay, so facts are very much an opinion from a certain perspective. What we accept as fact is usually consensus, which means what most people agree on. The Earth is a sphere is an opinion, and it's a wrong opinion. I'm not saying the Earth is flat, but it is a slight oval. It's actually pear-shaped, according to measurements taken from space. So even the fact that it's not flat is not a fact. So facts are very much from your point of view. So always bear that in mind. They are an opinion. And what you'll find is people will argue harder and stronger the less sure they are about their opinion. The more people are doubting what they're saying, the more angry they will become and the more they will fight to get you to agree with them. The reason is people like to be reassured. People like to know that they're right, people like to be reassured that they're correct about what they're saying, and they want their beliefs affirmed by other people. I've said this before, but if I said to you, the sun will not come up in the sky tomorrow morning, you would laugh at me, call me an idiot, and then you'd laugh again when the sun does come up in the sky in the morning, because the sun always comes up in the sky in the morning. It has done for billions of years. It always will. Earth has survived horrible things like meteorites, asteroids striking it that have caused nuclear winters, clouds of dirt up in the sky that's blocked the sun for hundreds of years and killed thousands of species. But it always comes up in the end. Earth just carries on going. So we know that sun is coming up tomorrow morning. Nobody argues about that. But if I say your God is wrong, people get upset because they don't 100% know it for a fact, and they want you to agree with them, because if you agree with them, it makes their opinion stronger. Okay? If I said to you, the sky isn't really blue, it's black, and I really believe it, getting you to agree with me makes my opinion a stronger opinion. And that's why people like to argue about things that they don't really know for sure. One of the most common ones you'll see is, my phone's better than your phone. The iPhone is better because. Samsung is better because. And we're arguing because we want to believe what we're saying is true, not because we actually think it's true. If anyone says, I think, you know they're wrong. I know is what you should be saying. To produce an effective piece of persuasive writing, the writer needs to use his/her vocabulary effective and to understand the subject matter well. This is where liberals fall down every time. You need a vocabulary that shows that you are intelligent and in command of an excellent use of the language. If you're trying to argue that your phone is better than somebody else's, but you can't even get the words right, nobody will take you seriously. If you get small details wrong, it undermines your credibility. You might be saying my phone's better than yours because it has a better processor, it's got a better screen, it's got a better camera, and it's cheaper. All of those things might be facts, but if you can't state those facts properly, nobody will take you seriously, and you're going to look like you're wrong. You're wrong because you sound wrong, not because you are wrong. So be very careful of that. And you must know your subject matter very well. The ice cream journalist knew his subject well. He read the entire instruction manual, which was twice as thick as our books. Then he read the service manual, which again was twice as thick, and he read all of those. And then he went through hundreds of reports. That earned my respect. You can't look at him and say, my God, this guy's an idiot. He's not. He's certainly doing a subject that I don't care about, but the way he did it showed some serious journalistic integrity. He had gone and found out everything he needed to know about the subject he was talking about. You have to respect that. The writer must also know who the target audience is and how to appeal to the audience's emotions. Now, this is what we see in politics all the time. They need to know who they're speaking to, and they need to know how to appeal to them emotionally. This is why the liberal agenda is being promoted and not the facts. I'm not going to say the right wing. In America, we've got a bipartisan system. We've got the liberal agenda on one side with the Democrats, and we've got the conservatives on the right-hand side of the political spectrum. Personally, I think they're just as bad as each other, but we have reached a point where the Republicans on the right side do make sense. Not completely. I don't agree with everything they say. Some of what they say is just stupid, but they make more sense than the Liberals. At the moment, the Liberals are dangerous because they're out of control. Politically, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't believe in the extremes. I certainly don't want to appeal to you emotionally. I want to appeal to you logically. Unfortunately, most people don't think logically. The writer has to lead the audience to agree with his or her views by showing that the information has been interpreted in a logical way. And you've all seen videos with Ben Shapiro, for instance. Now, he's very good at breaking down arguments logically. He sometimes goes too far. I did see one the other day where a video the other day where he was arguing with somebody and it was just word salad. Neither of them were making any sense. They'd got to the point where they were both arguing around in circles. That doesn't help anybody. To win an argument or a debate, you need to shoot down the other person quickly, logically, and abruptly. One of his most famous videos is where someone's arguing that girls should be allowed in the Boy Scouts, and he says, well, no, there's Girl Scouts. And there's Scouts. You've got mixed gender scout groups, you've got Girl Scouts, and you've got Boy Scouts, and you should be able to choose which one you want to be in. And the girl says to him, well, why can't girls be in the Boy Scouts? Where is it written down? He said, in the title, the Boy Scouts. And it's a very, very logical argument that she just could not get out of. Everybody in the audience laughed at her, and she knew she had been defeated. That's how you should do it. Just broke her down with sheer logic. Where other people might have hesitated, he just made her look stupid by tearing her apart with logic. The writer or speaker may also appeal to the audience's emotion to get them to agree with it. And this is what liberals do. They like to promote the idea that you're a victim. So everybody's a victim, and everybody can feel angry at somebody else for their failures. So it's not your fault that you aren't achieving something, it's somebody else's. That's how they get away with it. So you think, well, okay, under socialism, it's nobody's fault. We're all in this together, we're all doing what we have to do. It's not my fault that I'm not getting what I want, and if I don't get what I want, I should be able to take it from somebody else. Now that's a very childish and very dangerous attitude, but that's how people think these days. I see it on the writers' forums all the time. I see people posting their writing, and it's garbage, utter crap. And I say to them, here's a free book which will help you to become a better writer. And nobody cares. They don't want that. They want you to say, oh, your writing's fantastic. And they are the only threads that get replied to. So if somebody posts a bad piece of writing and you say, well, you know, you need to improve, they hate it. They won't reply to you. But if someone says, oh, that's really good, they go, oh, thank you so much. How can you improve if you're not getting negative feedback and taking it seriously? The answer is, of course, that you can't. But they're appealing to their emotions, and that's all they want to hear. And this is how socialism works, the idea that you don't have to try. They're taking away the idea that you have to actually try to achieve anything for yourself, that something will be given to you. And if something's being given to you and you don't have to work for it yourself, then basically you're a child. You haven't grown up, you haven't become a fully formed adult. A fully formed adult will take responsibility for what they want and their own life. A child needs to be supported. Decide what you want to be. So the following are the objectives of different types of persuasive text. We can have advertisements. Now advertisements usually run very quickly, and they're usually there to sell you a product or an idea. They're used to attract customers or supporters, and they're used to send a message very, very quickly. They're either a single photograph or a 20 seconds of imagery. They're usually very fast. And if they're not very fast, we lose interest. I used to follow a very good YouTube channel, The Quartering, with a guy who looked like an absolutely awful redneck, but was a pretty good journalist. But his videos were about 10 minutes long, and 2.5 minutes were adverts. So you'd watch the introduction and think, okay, this is interesting, I'd like to hear more about this. And then he'd stop talking and start advertising whatever was paying for his video. And it would be 2.5 minutes. And in the end, I just had to unsubscribe. I'm not going to sit through 2.5 minutes. I can't be bothered to speed through it. I want to hear your point. Make your point in the first 2 minutes, then I can decide if I actually want to hear more, and I'll go to the end and listen to you expand on your points. I don't want to have to struggle through it to get to the point. Reviews to offer an informed opinion. Now this is another place where people fall down. Informed means that you have a credible opinion, means that you've got a base of work or a basis in fact that proves that your opinion is valid in some way. Most people don't want to do that. Most people just want to be accepted as a genius without putting in the work to establish that they have credibility. Don't be that person. Challenge. To argue against a point of view. Again, you have to be credible and you have to have a reason for wanting to argue against that point of view. A discussion to discuss both sides of the argument. An almost lost art. Look it up. Look at the debates in America. I think it was a couple of years ago, this black team won the debate in competitions throughout the country. And they showed on YouTube a video of them debating. And it was appalling. All they were doing was screaming at each other. There was no debate. There was no logic. Nobody was scoring points. Nobody was breaking down other people's arguments. They were just standing up and screaming. That's not how you argue. That is certainly not how you discuss. You're just screaming your opinion out, and it's a case of the person who screams loudest wins. That is not beneficial or positive to anybody. And if America's fallen that far, God help them. And there are some types of persuasive writing here. We've got newspaper editorials. Now, newspapers are pretty much dead. They really are. And they sort of deserve to die. They were so unreliable, they just became non-credible anymore. But you can still find them online. But most people aren't going to go looking for newspapers anymore. They're dead. Essays. I doubt many of you go looking for essays. These days I would think websites and blogs have pretty much replaced essays. Advertisements, unavoidable unfortunately. And they're not just for products. You get political advertisements, you get all sorts of other things. Political speeches. Obama was pretty good at this. He had the body language down. He was very well trained. But you can train a monkey, so that means nothing. If you look at someone like Obama and look at the quality of his message rather than the way it was delivered, that's where he falls apart. He was not saying anything worth saying. When he left after 8 years in office, he grumbled that he wasn't able to change a damn thing. And that's because he wasn't competent. He was very good at delivering the message. He was a good orator. He was a polished product, but he wasn't a good politician. And in order to appeal to the audience, writers and speakers may focus on the following. The need for safety and security. That's very dangerous. Look at what that's got us now. Look at the situation around the world. The need for safety and security. We do need to be safe to a point, but it's up to each human individual to control their own safety and security, not up to a government to tell us how we should be looked after. In England, it's gone crazy. Crazy. We were told in England, they were told, because I'm not there anymore, a lockdown was required and it would be 3 weeks. It's 14 months now, and people are starting to realise this is never going away. In Canada, they've been told this is permanent, that you will never be allowed out of your house again. That's what's happening in parts of Canada. They've been told this is permanent. And they were trying to say that in England, and it's got so bad that the SAGE, the Scientific Advisory Group for England, has backed away from the government and said, oh, we never said that you need lockdowns. We said that COVID would have mild symptoms for most people. They're backing away from the government because they can see massive lawsuits coming. A sense of self-importance. This we see more in adverts, that we get this idea, we promote that you're very, very important. One of the best of those was this hair product, L'Oreal I think it was, and it was shampoo. And they'd look at the camera and say, oh, you're worth it. So they were appealing to your vanity, your sense of self-importance. You're worth our product, really. The desire to be liked or loved, very strong desire in human beings to be accepted. I would say to be accepted. Very easy way to connect with somebody. You're not accepted. Why are people not taking you seriously? Because you don't have my product. It works. The need to belong and fit in with others. Yeah, the need to belong. You're part of our group if you drink our Coke. Something like that. You know, if you're one of the special ones if you've got this phone. Makes you fit in, makes you feel like you're connected to other people. Even though, obviously, logically, you know you're not. The desire for excitement and fun. Oh my God, yes. Yeah, we had a product once when I was working, when I was just in my early 20s, one of my first jobs when I left school, working selling crap in a shop. And one of the adverts was, break away from your mundane life by buying our, I think it was a mini disc player, so it was basically a music player. Break away from your boring life. How offensive is that? You know, telling people your life is boring because you don't have our music player for $300. Crazy. The desire to be rich. This is a trap. The desire to be rich, the desire to have more money than everybody else. That's what being rich means. The desire for success. Everybody measures success differently. Some people only can measure it by being rich, others by achieving something, others by getting to their ends, their dreams, whatever that is. It's very easy to appeal to somebody if we say, I can help you get where you need to be, even if you can't. Oh my God, I see this as a writer all the time. Every single website comes up and says, we want to help you publish your books. And I say, oh, fantastic. And then I look at it and it says, for only $150 a month. I actually met somebody online, a woman, in a group called 20 Books to 50,000. The idea is if you can publish 20 books, you get to $50,000 a month. In a year, sorry. That's the idea. And she said, I've made $12,000 this month. I thought, my God, that's actually pretty impressive. You've made $12,000 selling books. Looked into it. She'd actually made less than $3,000 and had spent the rest on advertising. So, what? In a month? That's not success. The desire to feel free and independent. Freedom is a huge motivational drive. The ability to simply do what we want to do when we want to do it without being told. That's a very adult motivation. And the desire to help others. I like that that's at the bottom of the list, but it's a very important one. So that's basically an overview on persuasive text. And we're going to do a short exercise. Go on to the next assignment, and it'll tell you what we're doing.